This is Gemara Nedarim at Daf Chof, and we pick it up on the bottom of New Testament base. An exciting day again here in Daf, as B'siyata D'Shmaya, we're going to be concluding the second parak of Nedarim. Says that the Gemara on the bottom of New Testament base, the Tudat Yudam or Stam Truma B'Yehuda. What is the halach of Stam Truma? You made a neder, you made an item, and you said this should be like Truma. And you did not differentiate whether you meant Truma as halishka or whether you meant Truma of agriculture, of grain. The difference is very simply that if it's going to be Truma as halishka, it's going to be, yes, a good neder. That is considered something mashanadar that you even by making a neder. Whereas if it's Truma of agriculture, it would not. So said the Mishnah of you differentiate in Yehuda and Galil. Because Galil is far away from Yerushalayim, therefore when they say the word Truma, they're not having in mind Truma Zalishka. And therefore, the item would be mutter. Whereas in Yehuda, they're having in mind the Truma Zalishka, therefore the item would be aser. From there, the Gemara says, in the bottom of the Testament base, 8 lines on the bottom, the two dots, Ho ma'akirin asurin. What do we see? Rav Yehuda's differentiating Yehuda and Galil. But let's say the people in Galil would yes understand, would yes be makir the Trumas Halishka. Then the halacha would be aser just like in Yehuda. Alma, so what do we see? Sfeika is lechomra. So we see that in this case, due to the fact that it's unclear, it's going to be more machmir. And the obvious kasha is, Ema Sefer, the end of the Mishnah said the exact opposite. Stam charamim is biyuda mutar megalil asurin. Why? The exact opposite. The same reason, a different din. Because the people in Galil do not recognize the Kahanim, just like they did not recognize the Trumas Halishka, but over here result in being aser. But what's the obvious implication? If they yes recognize the Chermei Kahanim, they yes recognize the Beis HaMikdash Mutarin, Almas Feika Lekula. So the diuk between the Reisha and the Seifa is a stira. Now, people are wondering, why didn't we ask, not from the diuk, but from the dinim themselves, which seemingly are contradictory? Ayin and the Ran, and the Ran discusses this question at length. But let's go back to the Gemara. Amar Abaya Seifa Rav Elazar Rav Sadiki. Abaya says, you're right! Stira between Reisha and Seifa, no big deal. The Seifa is Rav Elazar Rav Sadik. The Tanya Rav Yehuda Aimer says Rav Yehuda Stam Truma B'Yehuda Asura. Rav Elazar Rav Sadik Aimer Stam Charamim B'Galil is Asurim. So we have Machlokes in Rav Yehuda and Rav Elazar Rav Sadik. Therefore, it's not a stira, as it's going to be. As the difference between the Reisha and the Seifa is going to be who is the Tana of the Reisha versus who is the Tana of the Seifa. And with that, we turn over to Chaf Amid Aleph and the final Mishnah of this second parak of Nedarim. Says the Mishnah, Nodar, let's one more time, there we go. Says the Mishnah, Nodar Becheir V'Amar Loi Nodarti. If someone made a neder with a chayrim, he said this item is like a chayrim, which means at some level like the Beis HaMikdash to me. Loi nadarti elo becher moishel yam. And he says, I did not have in mind the chayrim of Beis HaMikdash. You know what I had in mind? The chayrim of a yam, a fishing net, or a big carbon. He made a neder referring to a carbon. V'amar lo nadarti. I didn't really mean elo b'carbon ha'ishal malachim. I didn't mean a regular carbon. I meant a carbon of kings. Hariatzmi carbon. A third example. These are all examples in ways that people could interpret their nedarim into not having the intent of that which it sounded. Hariatzmi carbon, myself as a carbon v'amar, and afterwards he explained, Lo nedarti ela be'etzem. You know what I had in mind? Boy, I had in mind that referring to a bone that I set aside for my use in Nedarim. So 3 scenarios in which he could translate. Number 4, Kainim Ishi Nanisli. Someone says, a Kainim a Neder, my wife from having a na to me, V'amar, and afterwards, and Lo Nedarti Elo Be'ishti Arishayna. Shagirashti. I didn't mean the wife I have now. I meant my first wife that I already divorced. And these 4 cases, Al Kulan. Excuse me, one more time. Here it is. Al kulani nishalim lahem. In all these cases, you can't be nishal. You can't ask upon them to undo their nidar. Ve'em nishalu. But if you did, oinshin oisan umachmirin aleim divramir. You can't ask to annul the vow, but if you did, we punish you and we're stringent. And of course, that sentence seems to be a bit contradictory, which the Gemara is going to deal with in a moment. Chachamim, they argue, you could yes make a Pesach, you could yes undo such a neder, and we teach them that they should not make a Pesach, rather they should follow the Nedarim, so that they're not going to be Mekel, they're not going to have Kalas Rosh in future Nedarim. So ask the Gemara, the Kasha that we just pointed out, a Gufa Kasha, the first part of the Mishnah is a bit contradictory. And first you said you can't be nishal, you can't ask, you can't undo a neder. Then you said, in nishalu, ein shenaisan. Then you said, but if you do, ein shenaisan, umachmirin aleim. So says the Gemara, apologies that your screen just shrunk. There it is. Says the Gemara, I don't understand. Where do you get that from? It's a contradiction, it's a stira in the Mishnah. Answers the Gemara. This is how you read the Mishnah. Sorry, I don't know why. I have to apologize. I know everyone's screens are shaking right now. It's probably very annoying, and I don't know how to stop it. So, one more time. Nope, that's not the right one. There we go. Okay. Apologies for that brief interlude. And now we are back. One more time. I don't know what just happened. Apologies. And now we explain. What does it mean? This is like a classical we're reinterpreting the words of the Mishnah by saying as follows. V'kulan in all these cases, ein tzrichin sheila by a Talmud Chacham. If a Talmud Chacham comes, he doesn't have to be sheil on these type of nedarim. But in Am Haaretz, he yes has to be sheil on them. But not only that, but we punish him and we're machmir with him. So now the Gemara asks further. And I understand what it means that we're machmir. What that means is that we don't provide an opening for him. There's different ways of being chayreit, different ways of feeling bad, regretting in neder. One way is we are paisach for you, we help you, we lead you on. No, in this case we're not going to do that. So I understand that half of the coin. But what does it mean that we punish him? And on this, explains the Gemara. I'm sorry, I don't know why we're having such issues today with the computer. On this one, explains the Gemara. One more apology. Let's hope that it's the last one for the day. This one explains the Gemara. Kedetanya, like we learned in a brayso. Someone who makes himself a nazir and he's over on that. We don't get involved with him. We don't deal with him. Says Rav Yehuda. So it says I'm a nazir, and within his days of naziros, he transgresses. How do we deal with such a person? Says Rav Yehuda, you know what we do? We make him make up. It's a make-up days. You transgress 3 days of Naziris by drinking wine. For the next 3 days, you're not allowed to drink wine. And then we'll deal with you, Divri Rav Yehuda. So that's how we're going to be machmir. Amar Rav Yosi, B'Devarum and Naziris mu'ates. Says Rav Yosi that is only by a small Naziros. Aval Naziros meruba te dayoy lamed yoim. If you redo and you make up 30 days, that suffices. You don't have to make up all the days that you missed 30 days are enough. And Amar Rav Yosef, Hayav Amar Rabbanan in Niskakin Loi Beidina Mizmakikda Dimizdakiki Loi of the Shaper. Now that we're telling you, don't get involved. If a Bezdin does, that's not appropriate. Rav Yaakov Amar, not only that, but Mishamtin Almei, we put such a Bezdin in Chayrim. And with that, we continue. We have the two dots, about 10 lines from the wide lines, Chaf Amud Aleph, and now we're going to go from now to the end of the shir, the end of the parak, a bit more Agadato. We said in the Mishnah, we help you, we open up the Neder for you. Tana, we learned in the Mishnah. You should never be accustomed. We're learning the Nedarim now for 19 days. So says the Gemara, do not be accustomed to Nedarim. Because at the end of the day, if you make too many Nedarim, you're going to end up transgressing, you're going to end up being over in Mi'ilah. B'shvuos, similarly, you should not be accustomed with Shvuos. Limal b'shvuos. You're going to be over in Shvuos. Alti ragalates al Am Haaretz. You should not hang out with an Am Haaretz. Why? You're going to end up eating Tevel, the stuff of Am Haaretz, which is not appropriately taken of Chumas and Meisters. Alti ragalates al Koyin Am Haaretz. Shouldn't hang out with the Koyin Am Haaretz. Why? You're going to end up eating Chuma. Now, once we're on the list of things that you should not do, it says the Bryce, so you should not talk excessively with a woman. It's going to bring you to Niyov, to Arayas, to Lunis. Anyone who's learning incredible Daf Yomi, we literally had this in yesterday's Mesilas Yesharim, teaching how the progression of you can't talk to a woman eventually could lead to terrible Aveiros. Rav Achav, Rav Aishi, Aimer, 2 lines from the white lines, called Seifa bin Nashim, Seifa b'lidei Aveira. It says, Rav Achav, Rav Aishi, whoever looks at a woman, he's going to come to Aveira, v'chol mistakel, and anyone who gazes, and we hone it on the word gaze, doesn't mean casually looks. Ba'akiva shalisha, the heel of a woman, he's going to have children that are not appropriate. Nida means his own wife. When she's in need, you have to be careful not to gaze at her. Amar Rav Shimon ben Lakish says Reish Lakish. What does it mean? Akiva? It doesn't mean heel, says Reish Lakish. That's too extreme. It means in the unclean area, which is what you mechaven keneged of the area that is opposite the heel, referring to the erva of his wife. Tanya, we learned in a brayso. Now from here, for the rest of the day, rest of the parak, we're going to be discussing different matters of Inyani Arayis, different areas that one has to be careful about. So Tanya, on the third wide line, says the Gemara, says the pasuk, it's going to be the awe, you're going to be fear on your face, the busha. This refers to one who has the appropriate level of busha, of shame. Lebilti sechatu, the pasuk ends off, what's going to happen? One who has shame, a wonderful midah, what's it going to bring you to? It's going to bring lebilti sechatu. This is going to be one safeguard to ensure that he does not do aveiros. Continues the Gemara. Where does busha bring? Busha brings one to be fearful of sin. It's a good thing to be embarrassed, because someone who's embarrassed is not going to easily come to do aveiros. Will not swing quickly. Someone who is not a Baisha, as you know, that his forefathers were not in Har Sinai, cause the trait of a Yid is to be a Baisha. Says Yechlim ben Davai, an incredible source, four ministering angels told me 4 things. Chigrin, where does the lameness come from? Literally means they turn their tables. It's referring to at the time of Tashmish, they do it in the unnatural way. Exactly what this means is a large machlaikas, whether it means bia shaloi kedarkoi, whether it means husband on the bottom, etc. Ilmim, where does muteness come from? because the man kiss oisei makom, the private parts of a woman, which is not appropriate. Charashim, where do people who are mute and deaf come from? They mahavon, 2 lines from the bottom. They talk during intercourse. Sumin, where does blindness come from? They look at oisei makom of a woman. V'raminu, says the Gemara, ask you a sira. Shalu es ima shalaim. They asked ima shalaim. Mipnei ma. They said to ima shalaim, what is the reason that panecha yoif yafan? They said to ima shalaim, you have such incredible children. Where do your incredible children? What did you do? Question that so many people ask. What could one do to merit having good children? So they asked this question to ima yafyan. And what did she answer? Says the Gemara, beautiful children, Amr Lahan, Einai Misaper Imi. My husband did not talk to me. He would only talk to me in the midnight. And when he would talk to me, I would uncover a tefach in the front, and I would cover over a tefach, and it was as if of shade. That was the way that they had relations together. She said it was as if I was being forced by a shade. And she said, I said to my husband, my Tam, why are you doing this? And my husband responded to me, I'm doing this so that I don't look at another woman, and it's going to cause children to come to mamzerim. So says the Gemara, so what do we see? We see seemingly that you're allowed to talk at the time of intercourse. We just said that talking during relations is not appropriate. But we see seemingly from this Gemara that it is not a problem. Answers the Gemara, Loi kasha, ha b'mili detashmish, ha b'mili achrin naisa. The difference is, what is the conversation about? You're allowed to talk about the act that you're doing, but you're not allowed to have other conversations. We don't pass. This is one of the most famous debates in all of halacha, that on one hand we have incredible sources about the absolute purity and piety and carefulness that's needed during relations of husband and wife, whereas on the other hand, as we're about to see right now, we have seemingly that everything is allowed. Says the Gemara, it says, whatever a man wants to do with his wife, he's allowed to. What's the mashal? Mashal abasar. Habam yibis atabach. You get a new piece of meat, a fresh piece from the slaughter. Ratzalachle b'melech eichlei tzli. You want to eat a roasted? You eichlei kinim avushal eichlei shalot cooked eichlei. You had to eat the meat however way you want it. Similarly, you call masha adam right to last place to ishtai. Whatever a man wants to do with his wife, it is allowed. And similarly, v'chein dog, and similarly a fish. Habam yibis atzayid that comes from the fisherman is the same type of analogy. So, says the Gemara, that is the 2 ways of learning what is permissible during relations or not. Amar Ameimar, Man Malachei Hashares. Where did Rav Yochanan ben Davai get this when he said you're from Malachei Hashares? Rabbanon is referring to the Rabbanon. Dite Malachei Hashares Mamish. If you're going to tell me that you heard it straight from the Malachim, Amai. Where do we Amar Rav Yochanan? Ein halachic Rav Yochanan Davai. If he heard it straight from the Malachim, how can it be that we don't baskin like the Malachim? Hoyenu b'ki b'tzuras avlad. Says the Gemara, but the Malachim, they're the ones that know. And we're now in the middle of discussing all the different deformities and problems that could result from inappropriate relations. So if someone heard it from the Malachim, they seemingly know best. Ksuras avlad tfei, my karli Malachei Hasharis. And where does the term Malachei Hasharis come from? A good trivia question we're about to learn. Timitzayni Malachei Hasharis, because they're distinguished like the Malachim. So says the Gemara, what's going on over here? So answers the Gemara, Aid asay lekamei the Rebbe Amra Loi Rebbe Arachti Loi Shulchan. He said to her, my husband turned it over. I laid out the table. V'havchay, my husband turned it over. Amra La Biti Taira Hiti Yitircha Hati Rasich. My daughter, the Taira, can make a mutter v'ani ma eselacha. What could I do for you. Saying Lamaisa, it is allowed. And similarly says the Gemara, He does like made the Rav, Amr Eloi, Rebbe, Arach L'Shulchan, V'avcha, Amr Amaishna, Min, Bin Yasa. How is this any different than different ways of eating fish? And again, we're seeing this balance. On one hand, we're seeing everything is usher. On the other hand, we're seeing it just like you can eat fish that way. You're allowed to be together, a husband and wife that way. Exactly how to reconcile the sugyas is a large discussion, not for now. But for now, we conclude the parak that says the Gemara, you should not go after your heart. 7 lines on the white lines. Mikana Marabi, Al Yishta Adam Bekoizeh, should not drink from this cup, and put your eyes on another cup, which means that while one is having relations with his wife, he should not be thinking of another woman. Amar Ravina lo nitzcha ella da'afilu beis nashav. Says Ravina, even when someone has 2 wives, when he's with one wife, he can't think of the other wife. Says, and now the Gemara quotes, "Ubraisi bachem amartim abayshim bi." Pasuk quotes, "I'm amongst you of choosing those who are rebelling and those who do have eros." Amar Rav Levi, Elu b'nei tisha midos. This refers to the 9 characteristics of ways children can run b'nei asnas mishagach. And now the Gemara explains what are these 9. B'nei ema, b'nei anu. Number 1 is b'nei ema. Number 2 is b'nei amusa. Ema, children of fear, children of forced woman. Ema b'nei anusa. B'nei sinna, number 2, hated woman. B'nei nidoi, children of an excommunication of one who is in nidoi. B'nei timura, b'nei meriva, b'nei shechras. B'nei meriva, b'nei shechras. B'nei meriva, b'nei shechras. It continues on the second wide line. B'nei grusha asalev, b'nei arvovya, b'nei chatsufa. Children of mingling, children of a brazen woman. Ask the Gemara 1 second. Eini, is this last one correct? Amar Rav Shmuel bar Nachmani, Amar Rav Yonasan kol adam sheish lo tevas. Any woman, any man that his wife asks for relations, kol adam sheish lo tevas, havilam banim shavilu b'der shal ma'isha Rabbeinu lo yikamayisam. You have an incredible woman. You're telling me b'nei chatzufa, it's a bad thing. But we see over here, if someone's wife is asking for relations, it results in incredible children. Shenamar Rabbi L'chamanash v'chamarinim, uksev ekach es roshei shevteichem v'lo yiksev nevainim, uksev yisachach hamargarim, uksev b'nei yisachach yoyte bina litim. So as the Gemara, we see wonderful proofs of the psukim that if a woman wants relations, then it results in the most incredible children. Answers the Gemara, and here comes the confetti. Demirat yar tuye. Says the Gemara, that means that she acts pleasing. It doesn't mean she, with her mouth, she acts for tashbish, and there it goes. But rather, what does it mean? It means she acts in a way it shows that she wants to be together with her husband. And that's an incredible thing, a notorious act of a woman. We should do a wonderful chazara on the second parak of Nedarim. And b'siyata d'shmaya, we begin the third parak tomorrow together.